Hello and welcome everyone to episode 147 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derrick, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8, and, we're kind of here. We're still in Punk Hazard. Things are moving right along.
Yeah, I actually had a bit of a questioning of myself as I was reading through these because I'll be honest, I remembered nothing. Did we already pass where I left off? But you've assured me that what I remember last is still yet to come. I didn't confuse it with anything.
Yeah. So that, I think it'll be really interesting if it's your memories will kind of be weaving in and out.
A bit.
But it's fun. It's fun that this entire section was just a complete blank. Which, to be fair, kind of a blank for me too. Not entirely so, but it's just kind of I guess it's more of I remember the things that got revealed, just not in maybe the sequence or the timing.
Mm-hmm. Or exactly how they were revealed and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I know the things that you remember are a part of this story arc. So,
oh man,
and we don't really have that much of it left. We are. No. I think we're over. I think we'll be halfway as of this arc or as of this episode. Maybe.
Yes, I think we after
it doesn't.
This set we should have about 25-ish chapters. I think typically it's every 100 chapters. For is major stuff happening, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it honestly doesn't feel like it. It kind of doesn't feel like a whole lot has happened.
Not really, which is weird because a lot's happened, but also a lot hasn't happened. It's just in a lot of ways, it's reveal resolved in some ways.
I'm still enjoying the ride for now, though. So I'm not. I'm not oh god, it's so boring. Or
no. I'm definitely not bored.
Yeah. When I look, God, you've seen us on this podcast what it's like when we're just not feeling it. So it is just kind of weird to look back and be for being halfway through the story arc, it still feels like we've got quite a little bit left to cover. But,
guess we'll see how that all goes. But let's go ahead and jump into our first chapter for this set, 671 Gas Fruit, and Nami is Cinderella robbing the ball. Of course.
This is great. This is fantastic. I love this.
That's cute. That's definitely cute.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. But we get into the chapter itself as we have Brook, Sanji, and Zoro looking at this slime just launching itself from the hot side of Punk Hazard to the ice side. And Brook is aware of the name of this monster. He knows it's a slime. The slime is a scandalous creature that attacks women and dissolves only their clothes away, which immediately gets Sanji and Samurai's attention for it.
Yeah, which it did. I don't think that's really the, thankfully for Zoro here, it's just no, this slime is instant death.
Yeah, there's a good reason Nami sent Zoro along with this group. It's You idiots, look, it's killing the fish in the lake. You don't want to be touched by that.
But we kind of have to go in there anyway, since the other chunk of the samurai is still in there. So,
yeah, we got to get that last piece of the samurai. So, Sanji volunteers since he's the best swimmer, and apparently skills just transfer for the bodies. As long as you know how to do it mentally, you can do it physically. It's odd, but sure. But he's going in. He's using Nami's body. He's going to swim into that freezing cold water and rescue the samurai's body. So
I really do love this. That again, just Sanji just can't let go. The way that he says, "This is my problem now," right? This whole samurai thing. So look at him step up and having to suffer because he just can't let it go.
There's some sort of pride here, and to see him go this far is nice. It's a nice distraction from the fact that we could easily devolve into nothing but I want to look at Nami's body jokes.
Yeah.
But Law arrives in Caesar's lab, and Monet's just hanging out, and he drops off the bag where Chopper is hiding, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna distract Monet and let you free to check out what you need to check out. and basically saying, hey, I want to make use of your powers. Mind coming with me? He's like, oh, we coming with a date? He's like, no. He just doesn't say anything.
I love it really is funny how Monet's trying to flirt basically, and Law is just not having it, and he's just kind of like, like, oh, what do you need me to do? He's like, you'll find out. He's just my lovely edgy son.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing with Monet is like we haven't seen her really ostensibly use powers other than really being good at information. So it's like what makes me wonder what that is.
Yeah, there is something that she can do apparently.
Yeah, I got no clue. I honestly have no idea. I don't think that was ever revealed to me, but there's a lot about Monet that we need to find out. We'll be finding out about. But we go back to where we left off last time, where Luffy has already caught Caesar.
Yes.
He just has him already. Frankie's like, oh, sweet, that's hockey. Good job. He just grabbed a Logia user. And Robin's quick to point out, like, yeah, armament hockey gives you the ability to interact with the body of the Logia, but unlike the sea or Prism Stone, it doesn't actually sap their powers. So, yeah, he still easily escapes.
Yeah, which is sort of an interesting limitation on it. And also, because I think Caesar is basically like, he's like in a big gas cloud form right now. And so Luffy tries to use his Gum Gum Bell with hockey on it. And I think Caesar just like moves out of the way. Because if it did have hockey, I think he would have hit him. Yes.
I think that's the idea is that you can hit them, but they're able to move their bodies out of the way of your attacks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's say if he moved it to a little bit to the right, he'd still like gut check him.
Yeah. And then it's honestly really fun seeing these two characters and their abilities interact, because like Caesar basically goes in and like tries to choke Luffy with his gas, and he's just like, my gas powers are more fatal than the leading, blah blah blah, and Luffy just like gets a good sniff in.
Yeah, he just sucks it up all into his nose himself, takes it all, and they're like, what is he doing? And then he just lets it out through his ears, which is just the funniest visual.
It's great.
And they're like, oh, that's instant death. It's like, no, poison doesn't seem to work on me much anymore. I guess because of Magellan. And
yeah, Luffy gained poison resistance.
What a buff. That's a good buff. Just shortened his life, but he can handle that poison now. So that seems pretty handy. Luffy's able to get in a jet mace and just knocks down Caesar. Like gets a good punch in. And he's ready to continue on. But that's when we get, I love this, the castanets. Caesar has actual castanets. And the castanets allow him to like send up forth, I guess, his gas and cause an explosion right in the middle of Luffy. Which definitely is pretty effective there. It's like, oh, geez, okay, Caesar's going to put up more of a fight than I thought.
And not only like that, he's able to kind of do it again in a bigger explosion.
Mm-hmm, because he has the slimes gather around him and then use it. So we got a massive explosion there, which looks awesome.
It's actually, I had forgotten just like how much of Caesar's powers you're actually kind of getting to see here. Like it's nothing like crazy or anything, but like when you think of like, oh, this character's just like made of gas, like he's actually using it pretty effectively. I feel like there's a lot of really creative applications going on here. Yeah,
especially later. This is just sort of what you expect of Caesar, considering his whole poison proclivities and using poison gas and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny that he's into making mass weapons when he himself is a weapon of mass destruction.
Kinda, yeah. But I also love how Luffy's fast enough to get out of the way, and I love the bug out face from Caesar. It's like, ooh, that was close, and then just jet stamp right into his gut.
Yeah. As we can see, as I've been kind of negging Caesar throughout this podcast, just he is just kind of a big goofy scumbag, but that kind of makes his like he plays off of Luffy in a really fun way, I think.
Mm-hmm. It feels that way because Luffy has no attention span for his sort of thing, and then all of a sudden, here's Luffy's. He's just like, wait, I want a monologue. Let me monologue.
Yes, and I love this bit too, where Luffy's got him down, and he's just kind of like, like, Robin, Frankie, is there anything we can put him in? We can't tie up a Logia. And then I love Frankie thinking, like, have you got any barrels? Just like what they did to, God, what's his face?
Caribou.
Yeah, I love that that's the first thing Frankie thought of.
I had a good laugh about that. It's like, good callback.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that gets me. It was like, I was actually really confused at this point because all of a sudden Luffy starts choking and like passes out. And Caesar wins. Caesar like defeats Luffy. I'm like, what in the world just happened there?
Yeah, it hacks.
Yeah. I'm like, what? I'm totally thrown off by that. And then that continues because we get inside the lab and Monet's just like, wait, are you okay, Law? And like he starts clutching his chest and bending over. And as he just asks into the dark hallway, who's there? We just get, it's me. And we don't see the figure at all. It's just like, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, how many years has it been? How you've grown. And it's like, okay, who's this mysterious new guy? What the heck?
Yeah, right. Like we're like halfway through, and it's just like, wait, hold on, what's going on? And I also love Monet. She kind of chuckles a little bit. It's like, does she recognize this person, or does she know what's going on?
Yeah, you see that. You're like, it does build up this big mystery because we talked about how OP Law is, and him getting taken out without even being touched builds up this question of like, what in the world just happened?
Yeah, because I mean, I had you see, based on where we ended off last time, right? Like, I feel like, we're finally seeing Caesar, and like he's coming up against Luffy, and like we've seen enough of these story arcs to know, like, yeah, this is not going to be like how things end off, right?
No. Something else was going to happen, but I honestly thought it was going to be Caesar escaping, not Luffy being defeated.
Yeah, very much so. I am a little bit surprised at that. It does feel like, we kind of, here in the back half, we have a plan and it's time to execute the plan, and things seem to be going south rather quickly.
I thought it was a pretty good chapter. It's like definitely a lot of different things going on, and just kept it interesting throughout. We do have an SBS, and we got two interesting ones. One is Oda confirming that, yes, Luffy no longer becomes Mini when he uses Gear 3, which he actually had the anime team thank him for.
That's hilarious.
He's like, hey, it helps me out too, so I don't have to devote extra panels just to show that this happened to Luffy.
I never would have thought that would have been a pain for the anime people.
You wouldn't think so.
That's so funny.
And then we have the heights and ages of all of the supernovas. And that's not that interesting in and of itself. Like, the oldest is actually a Rouge at 45. The Capone is only 40.
I had no idea. I had, if you gun to my head, I would have assumed Capone was the oldest.
Same.
I had no idea Rouge was 45.
Right. The thing that, like, that's interesting in and of itself, I suppose. The interesting thing to me, though, is his comment on Bonnie. Because of Bonnie's powers, her age is an estimate, and it's estimated at 22. What in the world does that mean? Because we've seen no indication of her powers.
No comment. That's actually not true, but
well, I guess no obvious indication. I guess there is. My first thought goes to like where she seems like a little girl when she saved Zoro.
Yeah.
From fighting one of the celestial dragons, but it's like not one of the things that came first to mind. It also is like, wait, what is that power? Like, I don't actually know.
Right. No comment.
Yeah, and we'll find out eventually. But that again, love that forethought from Oda.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to chapter 672. My name is Kinemon, and this is another great one too. Whoever came up with this one, I love it. Or Oda's interpretation of this is great, where it's a running of the tortoise and the hare. Zoro and Sanji each have one of them, and they're fighting each other as they're racing, but also the tortoise and the hare are pointing guns at each other and smoking cigars.
They're strapped. That's so funny.
That is fantastic.
What if the tortoise and the hare had Glocks?
it's so ridiculous that I love it.
Yep, that's great.
But we get introduced to our mystery man, literally as Mystery Man.
Yeah, that's literally his title.
Here is Vergo. He's just standing over him. Well, one, cool design. I love the design.
Yeah, fantastic design. And we kind of see his, I don't think they explained the gimmick yet.
Not yet. I kept seeing that thing. I'm like, what is that? Like, is it just some weird addition to his, like, I thought it was his coat at first because of the grill marks and the way his coat was designed.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things where it's like, I guess Oda thought this character is too cool. He needs to have something dumb.
Yeah, very much like what was it, Mr. Five, who looked cool, but he flings boogers at you.
Yeah,
Or whichever
yeah.
Mr. that whatever number that was. It's the thing that came to mind when I looked at him. Is like similar-ish design, long coat, glasses, cool facial hair, that sort of thing.
And the second that we see Vergo here, it's like the vibe instantly changes. And like I said about things going from bad to worse, the way that his dialogue is like, did you really think he didn't know what was going on? Like, that's why he went to the trouble of pleading Monet here. Like, it feels like Law had a plan and he's been scheming, and all throughout the first half, it felt like he was in complete control. And then now here comes this Vergo character like, nah. He's talking down to him, and for some reason his presence has caused Law to just collapse.
Right. So he's like, what in the world? And he basically explains that, like, I was spending time in Dressrosa and heard an SAD tanker was leaving port, so I hitched a ride here and it was the right move. And Law's just like, how was it the right move? What harm did I do to you to deserve this? Oh, if you had done any, you wouldn't be breathing right now. You can't hide things from us adults, Law. And it's like, ooh, that disrespect. But also, like, I'm not blind to the names of future arcs. So hearing Dressrosa, it's like, oh.
I feel like that immediately you kind of know what this guy's deal is.
Yeah, you hear that and you know at least what Dressrosa is kind of about. Not about, but who the villain of Dressrosa is. And it's like, yeah, I see what we're building up to.
And man, we see Law is like, after hearing that, he's ready to fight, grabs a sword, but like he just, again, like gets like a shock of pain and instantly falls over. And then we see this little interesting bit where like Vergo has like a bamboo staff, and it looks like he coats it with hockey.
Yeah, and then just smacks the hell out of Law and knocks him out. That's an interesting power. I like the sheer sense of power that we've been getting since we arrived in the New World. Like it really does feel like a step up in abilities.
Yeah, it feels like, and I feel like, as we maybe will come to see, I feel like there are certainly some folks who may not love how much hockey has to do with like the general flow of fights and action in One Piece, but I do feel like after how things had been for like 600 chapters, I kind of welcome it. I think like it's like a paradigm shift.
Yeah, it's a nice shift where, take for example the East Blue arc, where the entire time devil fruits are rare. We saw 2, maybe 3 throughout the course of the East Blue arcs. And then when we get to the Grand Line, devil fruits everywhere, and learning how to deal with them. And just the sheer fact that just about every pirate has a devil fruit. And now we introduce hockey to change up the fights even further. With a manga going this long, you need to be able to change it up a little bit, or at least add twists along. And I think hockey does serve that purpose well, so far at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I feel like it has this interesting cadence to it too, where you have characters like I'm presuming here, or at least we haven't seen Vergo use a devil fruit, like that he defaulted to just whacking Law with hockey. That I feel like it does kind of even the playing field for characters who don't have devil fruits. That too. And as we'll see, like there are enough variations and like different applications of hockey that feel like it doesn't replace devil fruits. It's more of it's just kind of more of like a twist, right? Like it's more of a here's the second pillar. Right. So I've never particularly been bothered by I wouldn't even say like the dominance of hockey. I guess maybe more like the prominence.
That makes sense to me. I think it works out, and we've seen how it can just Oda demonstrated right away that hockey can be like, we kept seeing it as sort of like making people pass out for the longest time, and then when we got the Amazon Lily, we're going to turn these snakes really stiff so we can use them as bows and arrows and make the arrows really strong that they pierce through anything. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah. And I also think
there's the variety.
I think it is rather telling that to a bunch of characters who like maybe could use hockey okay or couldn't use it that well, like Law is a monster.
Yeah.
But he is getting humbled a little bit. I mean, we saw that, I guess, like from the dialogue from earlier, that apparently Tashiki can use hockey, but it just wasn't strong enough to overpower Law, but now here we have a character in Vergo who just, completely manhandles him.
Yeah. And we cut outside to see how Luffy's group is doing since Luffy went down, and not well, because Smoker, Tashigi, Frankie, and Robin are all down.
Everybody's out. Like, yeah, and I love the G5 guys. Like, was that Haki of the Supreme King? Like, no,
no, that was definitely not it. And it's like, what the heck happened? Like, how strong is Caesar that he did this?
Yeah, and that he's just laughing it up the whole time.
Oh, he is definitely in full villain mode here. It's just like, all right, men, leave the sailors behind. Go inside the lab. It's dangerous out here. I'll keep you guys safe. Looks like the Cool Brothers failed the task. We can't blame them. The combination of Straw Hat and Law was just too much. So even he knows that Law's betrayed him at this point. I'm pretty sure.
I do want to mention one more thing, because now that we do have Vergo, I do find it funny that almost immediately after we lose the Yeti Cool Brothers, it almost feels like, all right, Odo's like, wait, I do need like a second rung villain for like this part of the story. So it is even more odd to me that I feel like that we traded out the Yeti Cool Brothers for Vergo, but I feel like we probably could have had both running around.
Potentially, yes. But I also, like, the thing with Vergo is there's something about his vibes that he feels more dangerous than Caesar.
Certainly, yeah.
Because it's just he took out Law so easily.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. But it's also interesting that, thinking about it, Law's powers, other than, I guess, the heart thing, wouldn't be that effective against Caesar. Because you imagine that he just cuts him apart, and Caesar will just like reform in the gas and reform however he wants.
Yeah, that's true.
So either way,
that makes sense. Yeah.
We go back to Zoro's team and figure out the rules of the slimes, where it's like, oh, if I cut it, it spits out gas. It's like, can't do that. And again, Brook's interaction with Zoro tends to be fun because it's like, you just saw me try that. Why'd you do it? Well, I thought you were unlucky.
They're both so stupid. Zoro's like, well, just eat it.
Oh gosh, but looks like the samurai is going through it as he's crying out there, and we cut over to Sanji, who is desperately trying to find where that body is and praying that it's not stuck in the gas cloud that is very much killing just every single fish.
Yeah. And
that's when he spots it. Also, we learn that Sanji can use observation haki.
Thanks, Eva.
Yeah. But turns out the body got eaten by a shark. Like, it's stuck in the sides of the shark. Like, he's kind of just gnawing on the side, which explains why the samurai is now coughing up blood.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, he's not in a good position right now. Oh, no.
But Sanji's able to kick away the shark, grab the samurai, and starts swimming up. The shark tries to get him, but the gas cloud reaches him and kills him. And he's like, oh, God, I don't know if Nami's body's strong enough to get out of this. I don't want to put her any more stress. And the gas is all closing in, and he sees one last little opening, and he uses his blue walk to get through it and burst out of the water.
Just barely. Kind of a really cool action sequence.
Yeah, it really is. And again, thank God, apparently that's all mental that he's able to do this.
Yeah.
But the samurai is crying in gratification. He's like, he actually did it. I'm so happy to be born, to have the body I was born with, back as I should be. And we get it. We saw his name before, but we get a proper introduction now. We don't have to call him the samurai anymore. This is Foxfire Kinemon, or just Kinemon.
Yeah. And he's as tall as Brook.
Yeah, he's a big old boy.
Yeah. I honestly forgot just how tall Kinemon is.
Well, the interesting thing here also is we learn just a slight bit more about Wano, where it's big enough that there's multiple towns, districts, who knows? But he's from Kuri of the land of Wano.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it reminds me of Alabasta and how it had different cities and whatnot. It just wasn't an island that's just the section.
One town. Yeah. We'll learn about this later for sure. I wouldn't say that like, oh, he's from Kuri. Like, it's not like a crazy important detail or anything, but that is a thing. We'll get there when we get there.
It's an indication of the size of Wano.
Yeah, certainly.
basically he is extremely grateful to Sanji. He's actually being polite to him, and he's just on his knees like, I owe you my life and I will never forget it. So I beg your forgiveness for doubting your word. And Sanji's just like, stop. Just don't beg.
I do kind of love we're seeing sort of like the samurai culture and just kind of like, oh, this is Oda just, I feel like playing with, how ridiculously over polite, stereotypically kind of classical Japanese culture can be. So seeing that kind of come to a head with like the culture of the normal One Piece world, or at least, Sanji and the Straw Hats. It's just kind of like your over politeness is so annoying.
I missed the line. I'm pretty sure it was earlier, like just as Sanji jumped into the water, last chapter. But I think he had a line where it's like, I need to man up and do this. And it just clicked in my head. It's like, I just realized the irony of Sanji being in a woman's body.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Being surrounded by all the newcomer.
Yes. Very much so.
Not much else to say beyond that, but there is a bit of irony to that, especially the fact that he enjoys it. Well, mostly.
Yeah. And I do love, despite all this, of course, all the while Sanji's bickering with Kinemon and Brooke's like, I hate to interrupt, but I do believe we're in mortal danger.
And they are completely surrounded by the slime. And Kinemon is like, hey, time for me to show what I can do. My blade burns and those it cuts, so I'll blaze a path for us. Like, oh yes, fire, that's a great idea. And so he sets the slime on fire, and we get a massive explosion. And it's like, oh, yeah, that was to be expected. Of course it's going to blow up and take them all with it. It's like, but then all of a sudden we go to the next page and they're fine.
Yeah.
So it turns out that he cut through the blast as well.
Turns out Kinemon's kind of awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he was taking out those guys before, but Kinemon is definitely up there to the point that he's not only able to slice with flame, but one of the secrets are is the ability to cut through flame. So there's no fire he can't cut. And I think we just met the rival of Ace if he was still alive.
Right, yeah. And I love like Zoro sees this and he's like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I gotta see this.
Yeah, he's we're gonna go rescue Momonosuke from the lab, and all right, we're all in.
He is all about that. We do have an SBS, and
oh god, this one.
Somebody I don't know how we should talk about this one, because somebody pointed it out, and it did not occur to me until I saw this. I'm like, oh.
and Oda tries to play it cool, but I feel like he shouldn't have answered this question, because if you have two brain cells, you know what the answer is.
Yeah, which begs other questions, but also like, what? That's all I'll leave it at. I don't feel like we need to discuss that any further.
Yeah. We talked about it. We talked about the last of the cover stories, or of the Decks of the World. Yeah, no, it's one of those weird, like, why would you put this here?
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to chapter 673, Vergo and Joker. And we're just getting full Night of the Museum with Usopp and Brooke.
This is great. I love Usopp's face in this. Just him seeing all of the just Brooke dancing with the dinosaur bones.
And the dinosaur bones have the chopsticks in their nose thing and ties around their head. It's just a dance
These for
party.
reader requests have been fantastic.
It's been a good set.
We still get these even now in the manga, but I feel like this current run, all bangers.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Agreed. But hey, you ready for more trash Navy members?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a very interesting scene to start this chapter with.
Yeah, because we're on an island and it's a bunch of parents like, please look for our children just one more time. That's all we ask. And somebody's like, no, it's pointless. It's too pointless. It's like, no.
And notably, you can tell from the pictures, these are the kids on Punk Hazard.
Yeah, it's immediately obvious. And it's just like, hey, could you at least bring this to Captain Tashigi? She's receptive to these requests like ours. And the guy's like, what? No, I will not hear such contempt. We are fellow soldiers from G5. And, now you doubt official naval reports and accuse us of incompetence. You're going too, how dare you? and listen to your betters. It's like, oh, this guy is so full of himself. And then we see his design. I'm like, what in the world is this?
Yes. So, this is Commodore Yarisugi, and Yarisugi in Japanese basically means like going overboard, doing too much.
Oh,
Thus his very clashing designs.
And also all his men going, you're going too far again, Commodore.
Yeah, so he's living up to his name. Yeah, he says, we conducted 10,000 searches. He's exaggerating. Yeah, of course he is. I feel like with the way Smoker and Tashigi were talking about things before, oh, somebody's covering things up. I was like, there's your guy.
Yeah, that makes it pretty obvious, especially because, well, may not be our only guy too, because we get an immediate interesting line of dialogue here. It's like, we've gone over this too many times with G5's top commander, Vice Admiral Vergo. Which immediately puts that like, what
ding,
in
ding,
the world?
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm like reading this. It's like, how did I forget this? Because
yeah,
holy crap!
There it is. Yeah. So Virgo's a little sus.
Yeah,
he's into some stuff. Oh boy, we'll have answers coming.
And Yarisugi is definitely treading that same way. It's like, if you keep complaining about, I'll have you executed and set your town on fire for obstruction of government work. It's like, what?
Yeah, I feel like it has been a minute since we've just like had just like outright in the air corruption from the Marine side of things.
Not since Nizumi back with Nami's village.
Yeah, or maybe Spandam.
Oh yeah, Spandam. Yeah, that's.
But yeah, definitely. This guy is on the comically evil side of things.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and of course, even I do kind of like, we're seeing more sides to this, because when we hear like Vergo getting name dropped, and of course we've seen Vergo now, we're like, oh, he's clearly up to something. The townspeople are like, I wonder if Vice Admiral Vergo really has heard about this, because like he's apparently protected this island from pirates, and he was a proper gentleman, which is not like the rest of G5, which is of course kind of in contrast to the Vergo that we saw with Law. And
yeah, it makes you wonder if the Navy somehow has some sort of control over Law.
I feel like I'm really kind of digging this theme of like maybe kind of expectations versus reality, or kind of like different perceptions, because it's very similar to Caesar and Brownbeard, where we kind of learned very quickly that Caesar was trying to play himself innocent. It's like, oh, it's all Vegapunk's fault, and this is, while very clearly being like, oh no, he's like the comically evil scumbag experimenting on people and letting them die. But to Brownbeard, he's a hero, and I feel like we're kind of seeing a very similar sort of thing here. I like that, like, just this one little scene with just kind of like average town people being like, what is the deal with Vergo? What's going on here? Like, he's certainly more well liked than Yarisugi here. That's for sure.
Yeah, and there's some extra emotional weight to it too, because like we got this mother and saying like, they're alive. There's no way that neighborhood kids playing the street, and next thing we know, they've died in an accident by sea. Our kids have to be alive.
Yeah,
and to just put that needle in your heart even further, the kids have woken up, and Usopp's gas isn't working on him too many anymore. The withdrawal pains are stronger than the tranquilizer, and they are just in the worst shape.
Dude, I feel like this is hitting me way more than it did back in the day. Like, this sort of whole thing of like these, it's one thing to see the kids first off, but now to see the parents like worried about them, like, oh boy.
Mm-hmm. And they're just coming for him. It's like, give us the candy. Give me the candy. It's like, no, and Usopp's like, we can attack them, right? They're practically monsters. Like, no, they're still children. So don't do anything.
Yeah. I do love him. He's just like, help me out, Sanji. And of course, like, I'm Nami. It's like, you only look like you'd be helpful.
It's like, ooh. But then here comes Caesar. He's speaking his sweet lies. It's like, let's go back to the lab. It's dangerous. You want your favorite yummy candy, right?
God.
Oh, that's not good.
I can laugh off a lot of like, I think Caesar is like funny evil, But when he's doing this to the kids, I'm like, no, kill him.
Yeah.
Kill this man.
For sure. We cut away from that to go back to Zoro's group, and they're still on the run from the slime. And man, the slime is angry. He's like, well, maybe because we blew up its baby slimes. I don't know. And then it starts changing shape. And that's when we get a proper introduction. This is Smiley the slime, a gel-formed poison gas that ate the Sala fruit axolotl model. This thing ate a devil fruit, and that's why it's actually alive.
This thing ate a devil fruit.
We've had a gun use a devil fruit, and now we've had poison gel gas for whatever use a devil fruit. Sure.
Yeah, why not? I feel like they. No, I feel I am sorry, Derrick. Please cut this if like this is a reveal, because I'm like 95% sure that we've heard this information before, because it's Vegapunk, right? I think
yes.
Kobe said that. Okay, that he's the one who figured out
the first indication that there was a scientist in the Navy. This was when we got revealed to the gun dog back in Alabasta. Yeah. That there was a scientist in the Navy that had figured out how to give devil fruit to inanimate objects. We didn't have Vegapunk's name then, so we've known for a while that Vegapunk's been able to do this. It's just again, there seems to be no limit to what you can feed devil fruit to in this case.
Yeah, although they are all zones. That
True.
is sort of interesting.
I didn't think about that, but you are right. It is. They have all been Zoans so far.
Yeah.
Maybe because that's what actually gives an intelligence.
Yeah, I guess
act like that animal.
Give it. Oh man. Something just clicked in my brain that I'm not going to be able to talk about for a while. Darn it, Oda, you did it again.
Didn't even realize it at the time, but there it is.
Wow. Something just like that. Like, oh, okay, got it. Man, that's crazy.
Oh, that's good stuff. I love it. But yeah, it starts sending out like poison bombs that they have to keep running away from, and it's just like it can produce infinite companies. It's like, no, it seems like the main body on the other side is shrinking, so the big guy over there will disappear, and it's shooting itself over. They're kind of figuring out his plan, but if it starts getting over here, we're in trouble. So we need to go. We need to get Momonosuke and the others and get the heck out of here. I love how Brook and Sanji feel like they have to join Zoro, because like you will, if you lose sight of the samurai, you will be lost and we will never find you. So we have to stay here.
Yep. Well, I guess that's a reason that. I guess that's why we got to stick together.
Meanwhile, the G5 navies are trying to break back into the lab in order to get Tashigi and Smoker back. It's not really working, and they're basically witnessing the slime, Smiley, start forming together.
This thing is so creepy, by the way.
Yeah.
I had noted that out. Just the way that, God, and the fact that it's called Smiley. it's so cursed that I love it. But the way that they're just like, well, the creepy jelly stopped falling, but now it's merging with itself.
Yeah, that doesn't seem too good. And you might try to make it cute by making it look like an axolotl, but it's still looking pretty deadly.
Yeah.
That's when Vergo is asking, like, okay, what is Caesar starting here? And Monet's just like, the fact that he woke up his pet Smiley, he's about to launch a big experiment, so don't know what's going on there. They're just sort of chilling now. And that's when we get his gimmick, is that he's a messy eater, because he had a hamburger for breakfast, and it's like, he took one bite and the rest of it is somehow stuck to his face. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, all right, that's it. And he just, that's it. That's his gimmick, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it is such a bizarre, like, here's this like stone cold, one of Oda's like coolest characters, and he's like, all right, he's got food stuck to his face. We need to bring him down like just slightly.
Even when the people were talking about how he helped them once, the flashback shows that he had fries stuck to his face. Yeah.
He's got a very American taste buds.
Yes, he does. Of course, Smoker's awake now and cursing out Vergo is like, hey, those are G5 men out there, your soldiers, so you should get them in here. And basically, like, there's concern for his men, which makes you wonder about, like, how loyal is he to the Navy that he's okay with his men dying? And like he seems to be just chilling with Caesar. Like he's definitely corrupt, but how corrupt?
Yeah. And I do kind of love, because we've got, everybody tied up in here. We got, Smoker and Tashigi. We've got Luffy, Law, Robin, and Frankie. And I love that Robin's like, makes you think of the old days, doesn't it? Stuck in the same cell.
I call back to Alabasta.
Back when she was the villain.
Yeah. The other thing is, I don't know why, but it's kind of cute to see Frankie sleeping on Robin's lap.
Yeah. He's just out.
Tashigi is just forlorn that G5 there was definitely somebody covering it up at G5 with these sailing accidents. And the mastermind seems to be right here, this Vergo. And that's when Law reveals is like, yeah, this isn't something that just, like, you might blame yourself for not noticing, but he hasn't suddenly gone turncoat. He's been a pirate since day one. He enlisted on Joker's orders before he made a name for himself. So his 15 years of service have carried him through the ranks, and there isn't a more useful or trustworthy sailor in Joker's employ. He's been with Joker for the entire time. So basically, this guy's been undercover for 15 years feeding information to this Joker.
I actually kind of really love this because it feels like we've never really seen, like, I guess we saw sort of the reverse where we saw, oh God, what's his name? Drake, where he quit the Navy to become a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of like, here is a pirate who joined the Navy undercover. But it really goes to show just like you kind of gassing up Vergo to be, pun not intended, to be kind of this like huge deal that it seems like basically one of Joker's right-hand men.
Yeah, and he reached the level of vice admiral, so that's definitely telling you something.
Yeah, and I also like it from Smoker's perspective because it's just kind of like it's like making a mockery of our military honors. It's like we've had a rat in here the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Vergo just says to Smoker, who's like sort of cursing himself out that I didn't notice this. It's like, yeah, how about you stow the disappointment instead find admiration for the clever rat who avoided the hunter's sharp gaze. From the day you were transferred to the base, I've been on maximum alert. You have no idea how happy I am knowing that I'm finally free from that stress.
Because I mean,
feels...
that's probably why Vergo aligned himself with G5, because it's like these guys are dumb. They're dumb as bricks.
Yep, dumb, corrupt. Already, like, doesn't seem like it takes much to corrupt them. That's for sure.
Right? Yeah. Like they make Vergo look good, and then it's like, oh God, now I have Mr. Ace Detective over here.
And that's when Luffy asks, like, they're talking about this Joker guy, some black market broker. Who is he? Oh, and that's when Law reveals, there was a time I worked for him. That's how I got to know Vergo. But Joker's only his underground alias. In reality, he's a pirate known the world over. One of the 7 warlords of the sea, Don Quixote do Flamingo.
There it is.
Which, I mean, we all saw coming. Let's be honest.
We all kind of saw it coming, yeah. But, like, it's still cool.
Yeah. Just to get that confirmation, it's just like, oh, now we're starting to see how Doflamingo has so much power within the military that he's able to command a bunch of people and get things going in this way. He is embedded himself in the Navy. Yeah,
that's the really cool thing, because it's like, man, it really makes you wonder, right? Like, you always got the sense that, like, Doflamingo was kind of like, I feel like he's always carried himself with an air of importance, right? Like, that he was not just another, even among the warlords, like, he was not just another ordinary pirate. So the way that that he sort of like embedded himself into like the ongoings of things, the way that sort of like you can kind of get the sense that yes, he is a pirate who is like actively dealing in Navy corruption.
Yeah, Navy corruption, the slave trade. He has the whole thing with Bellamy.
That's right.
He's a warlord. He is just using that position of power. Like it makes him seem like so much more of a mastermind than Crocodile. Like it's one of those.
He's got those connections.
It was one of those things where we talked about it before we started recording, where Doflamingo is kind of the final warlord that we need to take care of, that we need to confront. Because
we really
either become friends with them or defeated all the others.
Yeah,
barring the brand new ones.
Yeah, and it really feels like he's definitely the one that has had like the least about him resolved, right? Like certainly like in the grand scheme of things, wait, I forget. So like
So he was introduced during that first meeting.
Yeah.
I think was it after Crocodile was defeated? Yes, I believe it was after Crocodile was defeated.
Yeah, it was like around Jaya.
Yeah, he was introduced around the same time as that's when Blackbeard made his introduction, or Blackbeard's crew member made his introduction to put Blackbeard's name forward to replace Crocodile. And we got introduced to Kuma and Doflamingo. And he's just been sort of around this entire time. He's
chilling.
You've never had him completely out of your head, but you're always wondering, like, when is you could just feel a confrontation at some point building with him. But
yeah, certainly. Yeah, I was wondering because I said, like, oh, he's the last one we don't really know that much about, but I guess we don't really know that much about Kuma either. But I couldn't remember if he's still a warlord technically or not. I don't remember.
I believe he still is, just because of the mind control thing and
right.
robotics.
Yeah, because he seems like he doesn't have. His free will seems to be in doubt currently. But yeah, and also the kind of subtle reveal that Law seems to have some kind of relationship with Doflamingo too. Like,
yeah,
that's actually really cool.
That's I'm excited to see what that's all about.
Yeah.
We do have an SBS, basically just seeing kid versions of Hina, Smoker, and Tashigi. Not a whole lot to say about what you'd expect for all of them. Although I do like that she has all those animals in cages. Just to...
starting young.
Yeah, hinted her devil fruit. And then we have apparently where the origin of all the Usopp Gallery Pirates fan art sections, which we don't really see much of in the Viz version.
Mm-hmm.
And where everything came from. But turns out Tokyo got the most. But he did feature a few from America and Italy and Taiwan, Russia. So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it for that chapter. So let's move on to chapter 674, The Observers. And it was so nice to have that run of fun cover art with the animals and the straw hats and all that. Just all the fan suggestions. As soon as you saw this, did you know what was going on?
Yes. I miss Decks of the World.
Yep. Our new limited cover series, number 20, is going to be focusing on Caribou, because a scream echoes through the mermaid inlet, and if you look at the background, you can see his shadow there, where he has his sleeves up and wild, and as he's going after mermaids.
He's just back to his old tricks, huh?
Yep. Boy, I can't wait to follow this guy.
Yay.
Oh, boy. Anyway, we got Nami and Usopp dealing with the Caesar baiting the kids, and he is definitely trying to use all of his words, and he's using his proselytizing. It's like, oh, what a cruel thing to take them outside, and don't you see they're suffering? They deserve their candy. The kids are begging for it. Nami's just trying to figure out what the heck he did to these, what the heck he gave to the children, and just to let them go to their parents type thing. But the kids' symptoms are getting worse, so they're just starting to beat the heck out of Nami and Usopp, and they just want to go home. They don't want to go home. They want their candy.
And just Usopp's kind of had enough. But I love that Nami here is just like, the children are victims and they haven't done anything to deserve this. She doesn't want to hurt them because obviously they're just kids. They're innocent. Meanwhile, you're just seeing Caesar here just soak it up and just goad them.
And she's like, focus your rage on him. And that's when the kids break free of the chains. And Usopp tries with his Firebird star to take out Caesar, but it doesn't work. It hits him, but it comes out on the other end just completely burnt out. It's like just kind of a sad looking bird. And that's when we get a better explanation of what the gas fruit can do. He's like, did you think I would ignite an explosion? You knew I was a gas-based power user, but I extinguished it before it could touch me because poison gas is not the only gas there is. All the air about us is gas, and I can control all of the air within a certain diameter around me. Fire cannot burn without oxygen to feed on, and you cannot survive without oxygen to breathe. And there's how we get the explanation of what the heck, how the heck he defeated Luffy, where he sucked out all the oxygen from his lungs and made everybody pass out, which is, well, one, brilliant. I love this expansion. Because I know my head is like, oh, he controls poison gas. No, it's all gas. That's all awesome.
Gas. Did you watch Legend of Korra, Derrick?
I did.
Oh, okay. Do you remember season 3?
Yes, I do. That is a pretty.
'Cause that's what that
infamous
reminds
scene.
me of. Yeah.
One of those things like,
I very-
I wonder if they can go this far, just like the whole bloodbending thing. It's like,
Yeah,
can they do that? And then there's the question is like, wait, can airbenders do this? And it turns out, yes.
That, I feel like it is actually a cool. It's a cool twist that makes Caesar definitely like not only more of a threat, but it is like, oh, actually getting to him and actually like kidnapping him is gonna be kind of difficult.
Yeah,
because he can just choke you if you get close.
it's not so good, and he hasn't given the kids the candy yet. But yet only kids who come back to the lab with him get the candy, so you have to wait until then. And they're willing to go along with it. But before you go, hey, these guys are trying to make your pain worse, so kill these two. And just before the kids bash their heads in, here comes Brownbeard with the save.
I did not think this was gonna. I completely forgot all about Brownbeard.
I did too.
But now that he's here, ready to throw hands with Caesar, like it all clicks for me, right? It's like, oh, he's here on revenge. Mm-hmm. Like now that he knows the truth, like it's on.
Yeah. And he starts trying to take him out, and he's like, oh, I'm back to my senses. And it's like, oh, you're right. You're my talented henchman Brownbeard. And that's when it's like, no, I knew you were trying to kill me. And Caesar just like, we're in danger. Hop into my flying gas balloon, kids. Let's get moving.
Oh man. Again, it's like all of his other antics, I think I can see. He's like, oh, that's funny. He's evil in a funny way. But every time he like manipulates the children, I'm just like, oh my god.
And we're getting
you are a monster
of what those withdrawal symptoms for the children are. Where not only are they getting like just this rage for the withdrawal, but some of them are starting to see a giant snake or zombies.
Right. Yeah. Like they are straight up just like hallucinating. They've been drugged by this man, and he is unrepentantly just like, yeah, all right, come with me, kids. And it's just like, oh man, it's just like the most punchable face.
Mm-hmm. And especially with all the weird faces he makes, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And Brownbeard is like, I want my men back. I won't let them suffer the same fate. It's like, you don't have any men. All your forces became my servants. You're not a captain. You're just another pathetic New World failure. And he just goads him into it. It's like, they don't even realize they're my guinea pigs. And Brownbeard tries, but the gas nets come out and blow him up. And that's it. The three of them are down.
I didn't think I'd feel bad for Brownbeard, but I kind of do.
It's a nice swerve. I like when Oda takes these nothing characters and does a little bit with them. Like, we don't need any more than this for Brownbeard, but it's nice to have.
Yeah, give him some pathos, right? Like, because the second we saw him, you immediately knew he was being manipulated. So I'm glad that like Oda at least gave him a moment to at least like come to his senses and try to do something about that, and like realized who the true evil is here, and trying to make things right. So by saving the Straw Hats. So like that kind of thing really works for me, where it's just, it's like we're all on the same side, power of friendship,
Yeah. And as they're leaving on his airship, he talks to Monet and being like, okay, all your requested preparations are complete. That's all right. Now we just need to wait for Smiley to arrive. So patch me to all the transmitters. And he starts talking on the snail and saying, hey, all you illicit brokers around the world listening in, consider yourselves lucky to witness.
I love getting on the phone and saying, hey, illicit brokers.
You guys know what you're all about.
Hey, I'm criminals. Hello, fellow criminals.
And he starts going over, it's like, okay, the poison gas weapon you're about to see has additional effects beyond what was employed 4 years ago that make it far more effective than anything those government bunglers can create. And we've had a series of uninvited visitors today, which means I've decided to run a live test. Nation hijacking, war domination. My weapon has many potential uses, so if you find it to your liking, let's make a deal. And we get to see a bunch of people in shadow. And I can't identify all of them. We get some guy with a fluffy hair and a big cigar sitting in a bit of a
actually
throne.
Don't know who that is. I cannot tell who that is.
And then we get Tamagoa and Peckham's. some mysterious long-haired person with a sword, and then Eustace Kid. And it's like, wait, Captain, you're in the weapons of mass murder? It's like, nah, but it's no harm in knowing.
Yeah, he's just sitting down, legs crossed, watching TV.
He is very much an observer for a lot of things. Like that's the exact same reason he checked out the slave house.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, just see what's up.
Yep.
I did. The person with the sword, I thought was Basil Hawkins for a second, but I don't think it is.
It doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, and I the silhouette reminds me of another character, but I also don't 100% know if that's them either. So I'm kind of at a loss for them and the person with the the curly hair and the cigar. Who is that?
I certainly have no idea.
I don't know.
Either they're just random characters or future characters. I have no clue.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that because I feel like that'll come up again.
Yeah. Well, let's get to our final chapter for the set, 675. I call it Land of the Dead. And we get our official title for our new chapter series, Caribou's New World Ki-Hi-Hi. And yep, he's kidnapping mermaids.
Oh, lovely. I don't want to spend any more time on this.
Yep, that's not
I'm already uncomfortable.
But Caesar and the kids arrive back at the lab, and they're heading off to the biscuits room, and you get all the candy you need there. But I got to return to the lab control, so go back to your room, get your candy, and their kids are all heading off. And it's like, all right, lock them tight, don't let them out again. So let's leave it at that. And then we see the one girl who was interacting with Nami the most, the one that was saying, like, please save us. Where she's actually starting to resist. So she's holding back, and she sees the guy that's in the gas suit. He has his hood down, and the hallucination showing that dude looks like just a snake.
Yeah, it turns out the hallucinations are real, and she just starts freaking out and starts remembering Usopp and Nami.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I want to leave. It's like, no, it's freezing out there. It's like, no, I want to go back to the lady who wants to help us. And the other kids are like, hey, let's go get our candy. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just start screaming out, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you, nice guy and lady. Help me. She wants to go back out. She actually was able to snap out of it, but it's too late.
Man, that whole scene is so dark.
Oh, it is. Again, the fact that they're having those type of insane hallucinations.
Yeah, this is nightmarish.
Mm-hmm. But we do see how Nami and Usopp are doing, and Nami's like, "Oh wow, Sanji's all bloody and bruised, but it's tough and resilient. I'm alive." And
yeah, oh, how about that?
And she rescues Usopp. He's like, "Oh, Sanji, you saved me. I'm Nami. Oh, why are you disappointed?" But yes, here comes Caesar to meet up with Vergo. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry about the way. He's like, oh, no, I've been snacking on coffee and cookies. Weird. Cookies are gone. I didn't give you any cookies. All right, I didn't snack on any cookies. It's like, what the heck? And we go to him. Of course, there's a cookie on his face.
Oh yeah, of course. I didn't do it.
Caesar is definitely working with him, and obviously working with Doflamingo. It's like, oh, I was a little worried when I saw Smoke was here. It's like, no, there's no controlling that wild dog, but it ends today. And Caesar's just taunting Law immediately. And he's like, you couldn't even lay a finger on Vergo. Looks like our deal paid off handsomely for me. And that's when we see a little bit more of his flashback. It's like, you'll be allowed here to stay, and in return, you give my men legs. It's a good deal, but there's one problem. You're more powerful than I am, and I'm the boss of the island. So if you want to stay here, you have to weaken your position. All right, well, I don't mean you any harm, so what do I need to do? How about this? I'll allow you to keep the heart of Monet, my invaluable secretary. Understood? Yeah, I'm fine with that. And in return, you'll give your heart to me. Do we have a deal? That way we each have our hands on each other's neck. And that's why Law was defeated so easily by Vergo, because it's not that Vergo is especially strong in any one way, at least that we can see as of right now. Vergo has his heart, and all he has to do is squeeze a bit to make Law scream out in pain.
Law's been screwed over by his own powers.
Yep.
But also, what a horrifying concept to just like have your heart squeezed.
Also, what a dumb deal. Give me your heart in exchange for my secretary's heart.
Yeah, not his own. I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's like Law must have been desperate to get whatever he wants out of this.
Yeah. Well, I love that he says like, yeah, I figured with a master this stupid that the secretary wasn't worth paying attention to.
He's not wrong, but it does upset Caesar, who gasses him a bit and squeezes the heart. And yeah, Law's not looking so good.
Well, I do kind of love. It takes one to know one, Smoker, who's like undone by your own powers. What a disgrace!
And then, of course, Caesar shows off. Here's Smoker's heart, and
yeah,
they're definitely in a weakened position with all those hearts going around.
Yep.
But we put up a display where there's a giant piece of candy out in the center of the icy side, and we get to see more people observing where. Again, there's some guy with a trident smoking a cigar. It might be the curly-haired guy we saw before.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
See, this character, actually, I think everybody on this page I recognize.
Oh, really? I don't know. I don't think we've met any of these characters.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. These are all characters coming up.
But basically, he starts going over his demonstration. It's like, yes, making it away from the burning side of the island are the Smileys, fragmented pieces of Smiley. In time, they will reunite, and when the Smiley is whole, the experiment will begin. I used Smiley to kill this island once 4 years ago, and he is the incarnation of the toxic H2S gas. The biggest problem with the last test was that those who were poisoned could still evacuate in a weakened state. So I found that if I gave my Smiley an enormous meal of special food, his toxic gas carries an added effect to transform him into the perfect killing machine. So you'll start seeing this new weapon called Land of the Dead that he becomes.
That's just genocide.
Yeah. It also really paints an even worse picture for the kids because this is the candy that he's been feeding the kids.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
What in the world is he like? What is he giving them that's increasing Smiley's powers like this?
Maybe it is like the gigantification.
Maybe.
Yeah, so maybe he's just like, I'm going to make a big bomb.
It could be. It could be just as simple as that. But that's when Zoro's group runs into the candy because he's being chased by Smiley. And turns out here's a bunch of men getting ready. See them all coming. And there's a smaller version of one of Vegapent's dragons. He's happily eating
It's a little baby
meat.
one.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It's adorable. And, okay, basically, like, once you're done with your task, this is Caesar talking to them, clear out the area. It's dangerous, right on the dragon sled. And, it's like, they start screaming. It's like, oh, the dragon sled's melted. It's useless now. There's some kind of chemical in it. It's like, and I love this part where it's just Caesar going, what? No. Like, look, just run for it. Your fruits won't protect. It reminds me so much. Like when I read this, obviously this came later, but because you said that this is the same actor as Frieza in Dragon Ball, it reminds me so much of the sequence in Dragon Ball Broly.
Yeah,
where he has to act like his
Broly. Look,
your father has been killed by a random blast.
Yeah. Oh,
same energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very much same energy. And I love that. Like you can tell because Caesar's broadcasting this and he's just trying to play it up.
But he also discovers something because he gets all teary-eyed when he sees Smiley come out. It's like, oh, I've missed you. It's been 3 whole years. It's so good to see you again. I got your snack ready. No, wait, we have catching up to do first before you do that. And it eats it right away. And he starts trying to like talk to him about, remember that time 4 years ago? And like, he's not listening. Like he says, yes, eat it. It's like, he's not listening to you. It's like, oh no, Caesar has no control over this thing.
No, Caesar is just an idiot. He is just an idiot. And I feel like we all know where this is going, right? Like he's created a monster that is no longer going to be under his control.
Yeah.
That is what this is. And now it is. I'm wondering how this all shakes out because it is now like on broadcast for everybody to see.
I obviously don't know. I suspect
and I don't remember.
End off on is I suspect where I stopped is in the next set. I don't know for sure, but I suspect that heavily. But yeah, that's where we end. It's just like, oh no, he has no control. He's just going to act like he has control.
Yeah. And I feel like this is probably where we're about to like start to get into the final act.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way.
Yeah, I feel like this is our Noah showing up.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much everything's answered as far as things are concerned. Like, there's not really that many mysteries left, other than what was he trying to do with to the kids with the gigantification and whatnot, because there's still hope. Like, yeah, Luffy and Robin and Frankie are all captured, but Zoro and them are free, Nami and them are free, Chopper's running around. So there's a lot of different ways this can go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm still enjoying this. I like all these twists.
This is good. It's certainly not like my favorite story arc or anything, but like this set was solid.
It is a simple action flick, I think, is the best way to go with a bunch of
it's a
lore and maybe not lore, but a bunch of implications being popped in.
Yeah, and I guess like my favorite part was still kind of the early parts where we were just getting a bunch of mysteries thrown at us, and I guess it's not that any one particular answer is like unsatisfying, but I guess it is kind of more like, oh, we're just going to kind of nonchalantly answer that and move on to the next thing, I guess is kind of how it feels.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, oh, Vergo being the bad guy is not presented as some huge reveal, as more of just kind of like, oh, okay, that explains the things that we saw Smoker and Tashigi
speculate on. And then
speculate, yes.
And saw the parents and all that. Yeah, you're right. It's like, they're not big reveals, and I feel like most people would have figured out that Joker was Doflamingo.
Yeah, I feel like that. It's hard for me to say because I knew, like that's right.
And I knew as well. I could tell from this point just because I knew what was coming. I have an idea of what's coming up, and not a firm one, but I know the villain of the next arc. So it's like, this makes sense. I like that. It's one of those things. Even if people probably could easily guess it, doesn't mean you sway from that idea. Like, it's set up to be that way. Follow through. You're just going to mess up the story if you try to surprise the audience, and it makes no sense.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like because there are so many things going on, it's not boring. Like we said, like it's like we're kind of constantly moving from one thing to the next. So even if maybe I don't know about none of, but like a lot of the individual payoffs aren't anything like mind-blowing, like it's fine, it's solid.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, Caesar, huge scumbag.
Oh yeah,
my hatred, like I love to hate this character, but he is just I forgot, just again, everything with the kids is just so like, oh,
that is absolutely the worst part of him. Like, yeah, he's trying to do mass murder, but the kid stuff is like more.
That's kind of my line. Yeah, he is irredeemable. And I think that's sort of what Oda was doing, was like, yeah, he's kind of an evil goofball, and might be a mass murderer in an underground, like crime broker, but like he's got the kids involved, so he's got to die.
I think Oda understands, like, it's sort of nebulous about this mass murder thing. It's like, yeah, it's bad, but it's hard to visualize that without actually killing a whole lot of people. And I don't think
it's Oda a little more abstract.
Yeah.
But
to have a bunch of kids.
Yeah, you see what he's doing to the children, and like that is immediately obvious as like, this is really messed up.
For sure. But yeah, I think with that, I believe we've said all we wanted to say about chapters 671 to 675 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or simply BitNerd on BlueSky. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am Brandon Bovia on both Twitter and BlueSky, unfortunately.
I abandoned ship.
Yeah. Good on you, soldier. Or you can catch me talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. As I alluded to last week, I was on the fundraising stream for But Why Though, where I talked with some wonderful folks from the games industry about about One Piece and why we love it. It is incredibly spoilery, so maybe don't check that out.
Listen to it.
Yeah, at least up to the last completed story arc.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so nothing from the last like 5 chapters, but other than that, maybe avoid. But it is a good discussion.
Funny thing is, I will never be able to join in on the discourse of One Piece.
Oh no.
Just will never happen, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also really funny.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get you in there. The 1 week when we're caught up.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derrick Bittner. That's DerrickBitner to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early, as well as patron-exclusive bonus episodes. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 676 to 680 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Hey, Vergo! Those men out there, you know they're all G5 soldiers, right? They're your soldiers, and you're leaving them to die?
Yeah, guess so.